They'll shoot you down without warning when they see you shining bright. Let them come for me if they want to. Let my children know what that's about. They gon' make them helicopters come out.
RedRacer video. Hey, thanks for joining me for another video today. Today's video, a review of and a goodbye to my Magnuson Heartbeat Supercharger on my 2016 1SS Camaro Lohla. It is a 70 millimeter upper pulley, and it is mated with a 18% overdrive on the bottom. That combination has yielded about 16 pounds of boost and 772 wheel and 788 wheel foot-pounds of torque. We're on all LT4 stuff. The bottom end is built late model engines. It's a lot of fun, a lot of power, and a lot to talk about. Before I get into this, I'm actually pulling this off, and we're switching to a different setup, and we'll talk about why. But before we did that, I wanted to be able to talk about this supercharger. So this would come straight from a horse's mouth about just exactly what my experience was. Again, I run the 2.3 Heartbeat and a 70 millimeter pulley and an 18% lower with that 16 pounds of boost. It makes some heat. Spirit of full disclosure, it does make a lot of heat on a drag strip. We just came back from LS Fest West. If you've on the channel, you've seen the video, probably right before this one, but we did good. The car made tons of power and I was fast, but I was also not as fast nearly as the car is capable of, because inlet temperatures were in the high, not high, but got above 170. So your car pulls timing at either 130 or 135, I think it starts pulling. So I was down a lot of power by the end of that run. So I essentially started at inlet temperatures where the car was already pulling timing, and we hadn't even raced yet. The car had been cooling, and we started it, let oil get to temperature, and then just in the process of getting it to the line in the Las Vegas heat, temperatures got a lot higher. So having said that, the car did not overheat, and I did run the third fastest time down there. So the car performed. I would have liked to have won, but I didn't even know I was in the contention for it. So I was spinning a lot, and toward the end, I didn't know how high I was gonna end up. And I kind of just got frustrated and was like, man, I did okay, I was spinning, whatever. And then we find out later that I was way up the list. And had I known that, I probably would have gone out and tried to do something different with tires or something. But it is what it is. We ran third, and it got me up to 17th overall. So the car does heat soak. Positive displacement supercharger does heat soak. Yes, that is my experience, and I will say that. It is not a deciding factor for me getting this off my car. With this supercharger coming off, it is not about the supercharger coming off as much as it is about the twin turbos going on. I love the blower. I'm happy with the blower. I'm honestly sort of reluctant to do it. I know that twin turbos sound cool. They are amazing because the mid-range torque is still crazy and the high-end horsepower is better, and I like the idea of being able to dial power levels in for the different situations that I'll put the car in. I'll be able to dial in boost on the autocross and on a road course, and be as powerful or as tame as I want to be. And that's a big perk, because right now this car is either a monster or it's a monster, and there's not really an in-between. There's either foot all the way out or foot all the way in, so to speak. I did learn to modulate throttle a little bit in my time with this car. So there is kind of a spot where, between your foot going to from like no throttle to enough throttle that the supercharger valve is closing. And for those that don't know, there's a bypass valve inside that stays open so that you're not creating boost when you don't need to. Helps with, fuel economy and just being easier on everything or whatever else. But when it closes, that's when you're in boost. And it does kind of sort of start closing because I think it runs off vacuum. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments. But there's not necessarily like a, progressive linear to the floor kind of a deal. And there is a spot when the valve just closes, and when it does, you get all of the boost. And that has, if anything, been the one challenge. And at the same time, one of the coolest things about this car, you could fry tires in first, second, third, and fourth gear. 70 miles an hour on the freeway, you want to fry your tires? Go ahead. 80 miles an hour on the freeway, you want to fry your tires? Go ahead. It's just really cool. The torque, and it's just there. It's immediate. And that's the positive displacement supercharger. That's the pro of it. That's just why everybody loves them. And that's why for me, if it's a street-driven car and that's your general purpose of it, I'm going to say that supercharger behind me is the way to go. Up to probably about where I'm at. Probably even maybe a little lower than where I'm at. Probably up to about 700 wheel-ish horsepower. And it's not a knock on the blower, but much above that, you really just are dealing with heat. And I know that there are now upgraded intercoolers or I don't know if it's the heat exchanger or the intercoolers, but the bricks that are inside of the supercharger that are supposed to cool better. It'll send a little bit of money to Magnuson, and they'll send you the new bricks. So I do think I could get my inlet temperature lower, but I'm not going to get my inlet temp so low that it's not pulling timing. It's not going to be 40 degrees lower. And I am also spraying methanol. I might have forgotten to say that. I'm a single nozzle meth, so I'm not spraying tons, but we are spraying methanol through the supercharger, and I'm still just battling pretty high inlet temperatures when this thing's wide open out in a desert at 2,200 feet with a DA of like 4,000 or 5,000. It was not an ideal day, but again, heat is going to be there. It's just, it's not, again, the car did not overheat. You could drive the car. It's idled in traffic. It sat there and gotten hot. The fans come on. I've never overheated. I've never had a problem, but it does not, or could not be relied upon, in my opinion, for over and over use or repeated performance on a drag strip or really anywhere, because I do think, you know, it would continue to get hotter and hotter, and who knows, but for pretty much everybody, and by everybody I mean even the guys that are going to race them on a track, this thing will do good. It'll perform. I was out on the road course and I did 5 laps and it never got hot. It was actually pretty good out there. My inlet temperatures were climbing. They got up in the 150s on some of the straightaways and stuff, but not in the 160s and 70s, and it never didn't have enough power. I mean, I was putting down a lot of power on that road course. I made a lot of time up. There was a couple of things around me that I know were fairly fast, and I was, you know, keeping track of where we ended up, and it was just anytime I was near any of them on a straightaway, it was just I was gone. So the power, the torque, the everything, the sound, this blower's been incredible. I love the car. I love the power it's made. I have not really one complaint. The heat is a complaint, but that's not really a fair complaint. It's just one of the things that you're going to have with a positive displacement supercharger pretty much no matter what. Having said that, if you're asking me, do I buy this blower again? No question. And truth be told, I'm going to AGP twin turbos, and if I'm not in love with them, and if they don't spool as quick as I think and make as good a low end and mid-range torque as I'm hoping they will, they may come off, because I need the car to kind of be reliable, and I need it to make power when I need it to make it. And we're going to go from there. You know, we kept the stock cubes for that reason, and we went with smaller turbos for that reason. We went with the turbos with light internals for that reason. So the recipe is there to make as good a low-end torque as a twin turbo car can make. So we'll see what happens. But one more time before we get out of here, guys, I get long-winded. Magnuson superchargers, your supercharger's been perfect. Again, not a complaint to be had. It's excellent. It's been perfect. It's got 15,000 miles and not had one problem at all. Still sounds and runs like it's new, makes great power. Buy you one, guys, and if you need one, get a hold of your boy Jared, because I know how to get it. Jared RedRacer video. We will catch you on another video about this vehicle and something else that's on it very, very soon. See you on the next one, guys.